Hey, what's up, guys? This is an introductory video for a new tutorial series I'm doing on the Electron Machinedrum. For this first video, I wanted to show how you could use LFOs to make a seemingly static hi-hat line become much more dynamic. And I did that by, on the EFM hi-hat, I put in straight 16ths all the way through. We'll listen to that in isolation now. I put in straight 16ths all the way through and turned the volume parameter down really low. I have it set to 10 here. And then you go to the LFO page and use a trig LFO either on trig or hold settings, and you route that to volume. And I put it in the range between 30 and 50 to where now each time it triggers, the filter's on. Now each time it triggers, it's triggering at a different volume level. So like to me, you can have like a seemingly almost random like pattern to it. So as opposed to going and consciously putting in each note or where you wanted each placement, I more wanted to do a process of elimination in order to get the desired rhythm and sound I was going for. Also on this track, what I did was the EFM machines, they're all 2 operator FM, and on this one, on one side, you know, if you turn the feedback up, it sounds like like a pure, like almost white noise hi-hat. But if you take it all the way down, you know, you can get this basically just a clean sine tone. So what I did was I have one LFO to the volume, which is controlling, you know, this rhythm and the way it's triggered, the way it sounds. And then I use a free LFO from an adjacent track to modulate the feedback. If I turn that off, you can hear how it's just at that sine wave tone. And if you experiment with different LFO shapes, you know, you can get it to where some notes stand out and some notes stick back. Then while it's playing, I try to experiment with the decay parameter to get like short percussive, almost blippy type sounds. And then on the other range, you can get more, you know, sustained, almost melodic like tones. So the next thing I did was I went to an adjacent track and used its LFO to modulate the decay. And for this one, I used the triangle wave, but then for shape 2, in the inverse setting, I used the sample and hold rate. So it changes the regularity of the triangle wave to where you're still getting a regular up and down modulation of the decay, but it's throwing in a random value, you know, subtracting from that, so that it's constantly changing. And that was like the idea for this one, to have you know, like a half hi-hat, half melodic line that was constantly evolving. You know, this is just a 2-bar pattern, but when you use the LFOs in this way, you know, you could let it play. You could let this run for 6 hours straight, and every repetition is different. You know, some you might get it to where 8 notes in a row are quiet, and then some stand out, or you know, it could be the other way. You know, it could be 16 loud notes straight and then some quiet ones. That's because of the random LFO shape, you know, affecting the volume, as well as the other 2 LFOs controlling the decay and the feedback. The Machinedrum is really good for these types of tones, you know, like glitchy, minimal sounds. And in the short clip I played earlier, what I also did was I used the RAM record machine to record what it's playing and then play it back at higher or lower pitches with retrigger setting. That's another one of the strong points of the machine drum, is how it can sample internally or sample itself. You know, you could plug a synthesizer into it, a drum machine, a turntable into it, and you could sample into it or sample what it's already playing without having to stop the sequencer. And those were these sounds. We'll listen to that in isolation. Yeah, these sounds came from using the RAM record machine. I think that's a pretty cool sound. Yeah, so this is just the first video. I plan to have, you know, more that aren't just focused on the machine drum. For my next video, I'm gonna show you guys how you could manipulate samples in here, but you could also apply those same concepts to, you know, using Ableton or Logic or any other DAW or machine. I'm just doing them on the machine drum. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I'm gonna plan to be doing at least like once a week.